opportunity. A very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Mukund and I take care of IBM services business for enterprise clients like yours. So the topic, innovation and partnerships. And so we discussed, debated, and we decided that we'll try to keep as less slides as possible to keep it more interactive. And there's a surprise. Some of you have seen the agenda would know. Those who have not will hear in 5 minutes exactly. So talking about innovation. Innovation, has been the core DNA of our 111 years of history. And, right from the earlier days to this, multiple decades existence of IBM. This, in fact, innovation is one of our core values. It says innovation that matters to the company and to the world. So, as I was preparing for this, I came across an image and I thought I must share that with you all. And that, looking at that image, just guess what that image could be of. So, looks like a floor mill ad.
It's an IBM ad.
Yes. And when? 1950. So, it looks like, you carry your stuff to the floor mill and get back, but what does it say? VSIF data. And this ad is of 1970, India, IBM India. IBM had prepared these 4 regional data centers, mainframe data centers, where clients would take their data, we would crunch it, solve some business problem, and they'll take the insights back. I mean, that version, that avatar of cloud way back in 1970. So, as we move forward, 5 decades forward, what has changed? Innovation has remained the same. But thanks to cloud, thanks to internet, the nature of innovation and a collaborative system of, openness, that's what is the last 5 years, 10 years journey backed up by, internet and cloud. So what are we talking about here? We believe that in last 5 years, if you see the innovations, most of it have been in the area of blockchain, AI, IoT, edge computing, etc. What is also interesting to know is most of those innovations have happened in India. And all of those innovations are being leveraged and baked in to IBM Cloud and the Red Hat combination that comes along with it. So I'm not sure if many of you would know this, but continuously 27th year, IBM has topped the patent list in the US. And what is also more inspiring to see is most of them coming from India and baked into our cloud product. So without much time, I would like to give a couple of examples of, can you go back to the previous slide? So a couple of examples I would like to give of these innovation resulting into some of the success in India. I wanted to quote India examples so that it becomes more relevant to the context. Connected cars, smarter factory, cognitive fashion, all these are projects which over the last 3-4 years we've been working with enterprise clients like yours. So it's no longer a US vision, this is all reality happening here, contributed by the teams here. By the way, in fact, the largest population of IBM sits in India. So team, now all of this translates into our IBM Cloud Private and Red Hat, the new partnership. The acquisition happened last year. And since then, we are seeing a lot of traction for clients who want to leverage all of these technologies to go to the hybrid cloud journey. And to talk more about that, you see, there's one industry which has transformed India in the last 3 decades like no other industry, and that's the telco industry. Started with, that 32 rupees outgoing, 16 rupees incoming from that position in 25 years to unlimited data, unlimited voice. But more than the telco industry and communication, what it has done is it has changed many of other adjacent industries, mobile health, mobile education, smarter factories. So all of that coming into picture, I thought it'll be good if we get someone who has actually experienced this, walked through this journey, and can share some experience of that journey. So without taking more time, I would like to invite our colleague and friend, Meenakshi Vajpayee, on stage. EVP Technology Strategy Architecture, Vodafone Idea Limited. Meenakshi.
Thank you.
So maybe you can take a seat there.
Okay.
Yeah. So Meenakshi, welcome. Economic times. There's hardly a day goes in economic times without covering telco sector. I think they almost have around 15 to 20% property reserved.
We have a deal.
So, so this is one sector continuously with 1 billion connections, 100 million 4G penetration, voice, data, now digital content. One of the biggest disruptors, right? Every year, every decade has changed, faced with so many issues. I'm told that it's a sector where India has one of the highest, costliest spectrum and one of the cheapest tariff. I mean, talk about disruption, talk about challenges. So how has VIL taken to this innovation, information technology, partnerships, and how is VIL facing this challenge? Any thoughts, process on this? You've been a veteran in the industry and a lot of insights, so please share some thoughts with us.
Thank you, Mukund. Yes, I think I was trying to think of the English word for this very Sanskrit Hindi word called atishayokti. If somebody can help me, I couldn't think of the English word. But saying, yes, please.
Exaggeration.
Well,
superlative.
it's a little more than that, but yes. But to say that, we are facing difficulties is the understatement of our times, I would say. And let me elaborate. I won't even talk about spectrum prices. I will say things that are parliamentary, correct things, of course, at the moment. But let's talk about technology, market, industry. All of us understand what's happening in the market. You referred to the lowest prices. A lot of debate has happened a few months ago, as recently as in December, on whether we should hike prices and what's the good and bad of that. I'll steer clear of that as well. But specifically technology, if I kind of focus on that, at the epicenter of what we have to do in technology is 5G currently. Several countries have already experimented with that. The value of that is undisputed. We are in the mode of to be or not to be in this country at the moment, but we know it's inevitable and we will get there. How do we go about there? How do we invest further in spectrum for 5G? Because that's further investment, and we know what's happening on investments at the moment. The second part is IT itself. We spoke about, the earlier panel was talking about VUCA, and frankly, telco was not represented there. What other industries talking about VUCA more than telco today? So everything is changing. IT, it's evolving around the telco core of it, whether it is democratization of IT, in infrastructure, in integration, in development. I mean, for God's sake, even, how can you democratize development? But it's happening today, right? So that is something that we have to deal with in technology itself. The whole world opening up to open source that we have to deal with, and technology in telco more than ever is embracing open source today. And you referred to Red Hat. We can talk a bit more about that later. But all the things the erstwhile panel spoke about in VUCA is true for us and more, because telco itself is undergoing change. So we are dealing with technology change. We are dealing with market issues, and then of course, to crown it all, the cherry on the cake is we have been trying to deal with an integration at the moment. So we are at the fag end of it. For the last 1.5 years, Vodafone Idea Limited is going through an integration, which is also people and culture related. So all of this, if you put together, one would have thought that we can barely move a step ahead, because there is so much to deal with in the present. How can we even plan for the future? But we have. We have said that when 5G comes, it will come. But how do we prepare ourselves for 5G? How do we bring many of the things that lead up to 5G, spectrum notwithstanding, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of technology, how do we bring that forward several years? And therefore, we have invested a great amount of time in trying to create an infrastructure which is more 5G related, and to bring in, embrace open source in that, so that it scales to the future of what infrastructure in telco is supposed to be.
Great. So you mentioned about future. You see, I mean, as I meet enterprise clients, very often I hear, yes, we want to do innovation, but we want to do innovation at scale. Yes, supply chains, marketing, everyone wants to do digital, but at scale. And with ecosystem partners coming together, moving to a platform organization. So like I mentioned about, we ourselves are moving to this IBM Cloud private platform with the power of Red Hat as well, which hopefully helps our clients innovate at scale. But I recently read a press release of VIL with Red Hat. Talks about some very interesting project on network cloudification and a platform, universal cloud platform. Would you like to share some thoughts on that, and how is it helping you prepare for future?
Sure. In my previous comment, I did not mention digital, you know, and everything that you do today, everything, if you don't mention digital, kya kar rahe hain? Ye to kuch kar hi nahi rahe at the end of it. So we should include that as well, though it embraces all of the things I did say, but that word needs to be mentioned absolutely. But coming to your specific point, the things that I talked about earlier, what we have done is we have built a universal cloud. Let me try and explain that. With the advent of 4G++ or 5G in telco technology, we are separating the control plane from the data plane. Basically, in very simplistic way, in technology, there have been appliances where hardware and software and products and devices are not separated. In telco today, they are getting separated. All of us are IT professionals, we know what power that gives us. The moment you separate hardware from software, you get control on the software, and therefore you can use that software to develop what you want, rather than depending on somebody who gives you a box and gives you the software inside the box. You have no control on that. So therefore, you can imagine the power that this separation brings to us, that we can, as IT professionals, pick up that software of telco and create products and take that product to market in the way we want it, rather than waiting for a manufacturer to create it for us. That's the first thing. The second thing is, because hardware is separated, it's no longer an appliance. I can use any hardware, and I heard Dell talking a little bit earlier. I can pick up a Dell Intel software, I can pick up any other software which is available in the market, which is general purpose software, put it together with software which orchestrates this software. We have chosen to go the Red Hat route because of, I spoke about open source as well. We've embraced Red Hat as the technology we want to use for this. And you create your own virtualized environment in which you can put your software and run telco on that. That is how it has changed. So we have chosen, despite all the disruption that we are trying to manage, to create our universal cloud. We have chosen to house our business on that, and we have chosen to go open source. We are using orchestrators of Red Hat. We are using Ansible to automate a lot of that in our orchestration, and we are thinking of taking it to market. And why should IBM get all the face time here? I am from Vodafone. I want to sell as well. Please, you're welcome to host on the cloud that we have created. It's a universal cloud going to market.
True, actually, you know, especially the smarter factories, IoT, edge computing, those kind of use cases, definitely a telco service provider will have an inherent strength thanks to the connectivity and a very wide presence.
Well, absolutely, Mukund, because the moment you start talking of hosting something, hosting comes hand in hand with latency, and the need for several industries in the modern digital world, gamification, etc., content partners, etc., the need for managing latency is very, very important. And who better than to do it, to marry a cloud which can give you the minimum latency for you to host your systems there. So therefore, the CDN, etc., becomes very, very important.
So Meenakshi, one last question. So amongst all of this, you know, continuous change, daily challenges, preparing for the next platform organization, ecosystems, partners working together, how has culture played out in the whole thing? I mean, different people, different scales of organizations, developers, ecosystem. How have you prepared your organization to deal with this culture?
So, as I mentioned earlier, we are right in the middle of an integration, and therefore in the middle of a cultural cauldron, if I might say that. Having said that, we are having to do a bimodal approach. While we are dealing with integration on the one side, we are having to make sure that we create a stable environment, and no comments on, you know, call drops, etc., please, at the moment. But we're trying to get the two different organizations to come together to create one technology stack, to say. At the same time, we have to also work on the modernization that we are talking about. I referred to it earlier. we have tried to work in a bimodal manner. We have to try to create a culture which talks not just of stabilization, but also of how do you embrace new technologies, how do we understand what needs to be taken to the market, work with our enterprise team, and therefore create what is required around that. But at the root of all that, and if you have read our mission statement, the new mission statement of VIL, you will see that one of the verticals is partnerships. So we believe that deep partnerships, not one, but several, deep partnerships will enable us to create the skills which are available in separate pockets. Each of us excel in what we do. If each of us start developing all the skills that are required to go to market, I don't think it's a sensible solution.
Complementary skills coming together.
Absolutely. So we partner with several of our close associates, and we plan to go to market together. As an example, I had said we partnered with Red Hat to go to market on our cloud infrastructure journey. Similarly, for the other products that we're trying to create on the separated software, we are partnering with other associates and planning to go to market. On the other hand, inside the organization, we are trying to see if, a culture of innovation, and again, someone referred to it. It's a very motherhood statement. I totally agree with that. But then what does it translate to when you come to what is happening on the ground? Do we promote open source in a no debate manner? Or are we still debating it? So we are saying at some places we just use brute force, and we say, this is what we are all about, this is what we have to do. So therefore, some of the changing things, we've adopted it, and we've taken a hard call to do it with partners.
All right, so thank you very much for an engaging conversation. And we will also have few demos and sessions, so if any one of you is more interested to see the capabilities of IBM Cloud and Red Hat, please feel free. I would also like to invite you to our research lab in Delhi and Bangalore, where you could see some of these innovations that I mentioned, the connected cars, smarter factories, cognitive fashion. So we'll be very happy to host you and maybe your teams go through some of these things. What feels proud is, most of this work happens out of India and by Indians, so that's another added stuff. So thank you very much. Thank you, Meenakshi, for your time. Thank you very much.